Hey, Chandler Crouch here. I am at home. It's the weekend. I don't have my uniform on, and I just locked the bedroom door so the kids could be beating down the door, but I'm just going to fight through it because I don't have another time. But I wanted to make a video because the video I made yesterday was supposed to address some of the rumors going on at the appraisal district amongst the appraisal district employees about the board of directors election. I think it's kind of odd that there's rumors going on around there, but I understand they're taking concern because the board of directors will have an impact on their job. The board of directors are the ones ultimately accountable. If they don't approve a budget of something that an employee cares about, then it's gonna have an adverse reaction. And so that's where the fear is coming from. That's really what it's based on, is a fear, and it's unfounded because the only way that an employee there would have received some information that somebody has some bad intent is by hearing it third party, because I went directly to the source. I've asked the candidates what their plans are, and I asked them directly about these rumors, and I'm going to address it right now. So I asked the only two candidates that I'm in regular contact with, and I think that they're the ones that they're most concerned with, are Rich Diott and Gary Lasada. I asked both of them, do you plan to reduce the salaries of the employees there? Both of them responded with absolute shock that somebody could even be considering that might be something they're thinking of. So their answer was absolutely not. I said, are you considering reducing benefits? They said absolutely not. In fact, both of them independently, these were separate phone calls. They did not know that I was even making these phone calls. They didn't know I had a desire to address these rumors on separate phone calls without talking to each other at all. Both of them said they have a desire to reduce turnover. They've heard that there's higher turnover than they would like, and they have thought, well, what can we do to help reduce turnover? And they have also said they're not coming in with an agenda other than to increase communication and transparency and whatever they've said while they're going to all these meetings and stuff, campaigning basically. They've said, look, we want to make it a better place to work. We want employees happy. We want them well trained. We want them doing a good job. We don't want them leaving, and reducing salary and benefits is the quickest way to get them to leave, and that is the furthest thing from their thought process. And it makes a lot of sense to me. In fact, both of them are smart guys that have been in charge of large organizations. They know what it's like, and they do not want they want cohesiveness, and they want to help inspire and lead a good culture there. So those rumors are absolutely false. I wish I could elaborate on it, but that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, you can contact me. You can contact the candidates if you can find their contact information. But contact me. I can get you any answer you want. I'm in direct contact with them, and you're going to hear from the source. Let's see. Kind of feel like I should talk about a little bit about maybe what's caused me to get people to talk negatively. First, I want to tell you a little bit about the process that I went through before I said anything out loud to anybody about this entire election. I knew the election was coming up. I had an interest in it. Like I said before, I was even considering possibly running because I just thought I don't want somebody stupid getting on the board that doesn't understand what goes on at the appraisal district, and somebody's going to come in with an agenda that has intentions that are not what I would support. And so I thought, well, I fit the bill. Let's check it out. But I'm biting off too much, and I'm so involved in doing so many protests. I just felt like it's probably not a good idea. But I was able to really let go of that whenever we had some good candidates come on board. So I wasn't playing. I didn't know what I was going to do. So what I did is I came up with an idea. I thought, you know what? If nothing else, if people just knew this election was going on and had a clue of, who was running, first of all, and how the election works, then I think people will really get interested in it. And so what I can do is I can just help facilitate that communication process. So my original plan was just to interview the candidates and spread those interview videos to all of the taxing entities, and then to just help explain the process in general. So what I did is I wanted to be completely above board, and so I scheduled a meeting with Jeff Law, and I explained to him what I was thinking. He said, and his response was, because I went in and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I just want to make sure there's not any unintended consequences or any rules that I'm going to step over. I just want to make sure this isn't something that's going to really piss you guys off, and make sure, maybe I didn't say it, but that's what I was thinking. I don't want to do anything too far against the grain. I just want to help. I want to be a benefit. So he said, no, absolutely. Sounds like a great idea. In fact, he said, look, his whole stance on this, he said, look, I'm going to remain neutral in this whole thing. We've got to help facilitate this election, and we're going to do it in the best way we can, and do a good job with it. And he said, look, I'm going to stay out of it. I don't have any business talking to candidates about any of this election stuff other than what I have to do to run the election. And I'm like, you know what? That's exactly the kind of response that I would hope to hear from somebody in that position. And he said, look, I'm not going to tell you can do it or can't do it or I support it or anything like that. But he said, I don't have a personal problem with it because you're not crossing a line that I think you're crossing. So that was kind of his response. That was really smart, tactful, and what I would hope to hear. So the next day or two, the appraisal district had a board meeting. I went to the board meeting. I presented at the board meeting, and until I presented at that board meeting, I had not, until that morning, or I guess the night before, I hadn't fully decided exactly what I was going to do. But then I came to the conclusion, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just interview the candidates and spread those interview videos. And I was going to stop there. So at the board meeting, I told the candidates, the incumbents that were there, I said, hey guys, I'm going to be reaching out to you, offering to interview you, and then I'm going to spread those interview videos to all the taxing units so they can understand who's running, and that's it. I wasn't planning on expressing any support for anybody. I was going to remain as neutral as possible. In the days after, I think that was on a Friday. I think I might have called them on a Saturday. Whatever. I said, hey, I will come to you. It will take 30 minutes. I'll meet wherever you decide, anytime you decide, and I will be in and out of your life in 30 minutes, and that's it. And several of them didn't have time to meet for a week or more or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to knock anybody that's running or any candidates because they're doing it for free. They're not getting paid. And they're serving a whole lot more than most people out there. And so I just appreciate their willingness to serve. But that's where it was. All right. That's what happened. After that meeting, I didn't get the nomination sheet until a day or two before that. Okay. And at that meeting, I'm just sitting there thinking about what I'm about to say, and I'm thinking about looking at that nomination sheet, and it just started eating me up. Looking at how many times White Settlement ISD appeared on that nomination sheet and realizing who they nominated. And I was like, man, I don't care that these guys are nominated. It's probably a good thing. I don't care that White Settlement nominates people. But when it goes down like this, understanding Randy Armstrong's position, if I'm going to get up and say something, like, I have to mention this stuff. And here's the deal, guys. When you have a public-facing position, such as him, at the district, he's gone out and done, meetings where he's addressing the public or whatever, quoted in newspapers, that sort of thing. He's head of the whole residential division. And he's an elected official at a school district. What you do when you enter a public arena like that, you then answer to the people. You serve the people. That should be that's what it is. It's a position of service to the people. Maybe not at the district so much, but it's still a public-facing position, and with a role that's so impactful, there are going to be questions, and you've got to be able to face the public at some level. And if there's a problem, it's a public problem. It's not something that's purely just handled behind closed doors. It's something that voters need to take an interest in, especially if there's an election going on. But here's the deal. I was not going to mention anything about Randy or anything until I saw the nomination sheet, and I said, okay, this is extremely relevant, and there's no way I can't mention this. And so I went down that path. I have since, but before I mention his name or anything about the appraisal district, first of all, every single time I mention the appraisal district in anything I do, go back and look at anything. You go back and look at my videos, look at any articles or anything that I've ever written. I think 100% of the time I've always said, right before I say anything to try and hold the appraisal district accountable, I express my appreciation and my intent by saying, look, the appraisal district is good. They're better than other appraisal districts. They've helped me tremendously, and the employees there are tremendous. And even since I've had so much interaction with Jeff Law, I even mentioned how much he's helped. because I appreciate it, and people need to know. That's part of the story. Go back and see if there's if I'm just tearing somebody apart without any kind of disclaimer, any kind of personal attacks whatsoever, and bring it to my attention. Now, what I've identified is a conflict of interest. That's not an attack on character. That's not an attack on intent. That's an attack on the conflicting interests of each role. It wouldn't matter who had if Mother Teresa held both roles, and if they were conflicting, then they would be conflicting, and that's a conflict of interest. It doesn't mean that anything's happened. It's kind of like if I was to go out to lunch with an ex-girlfriend or something, completely, within the rules, but I'm pretty sure my wife wouldn't like it, right? Or I was thinking about, with government and tax and stuff. It's like I was thinking, like, what if I ran a paper mill? I was the owner of a paper mill, but I sat on the board of the forestry department, and I could somehow, put in a position where I had the ability to finagle the prices of the wood that was going to affect my business. And it's like, and if there's some like private business, a lot of times that kind of thing is okay. But when we're dealing with tax, we're dealing with government, that kind of thing is usually not okay. If there's a conflict of interest there, you have to have separation. And it doesn't mean that somebody's taking advantage of the opportunities that conflict would allow. It's just saying that we don't want to put anybody in a position where there could even be the image of a possibility of somebody taking advantage of the conflict of interest. Whatever, but that's what it's called. Most people get that. Before I ever mentioned his name, I emailed him. And I emailed his TAD address. I emailed a Gmail address that I have. I did not get a response from either one. It wasn't until I emailed on the 11th. On the 15th, I got a bounce back from his TAD email address saying it was not delivered. And by that time, the ball was already rolling. I didn't use any quotes from him directly, but so I just went to the most reliable source I could find, which were some quotes in newspapers and that sort of thing. I felt like they were probably reliable, so and he wasn't responding, so I just made the best decision I could. I'm not a journalist, but I am trying to be fair. So that's the take that I had on that. Since then, actually 2-3 days ago, it just occurred to me, why don't I email his ISD address? So that's what I did, and he responded. And he feels like he was mischaracterized in one of his quotes. It's something like somebody approached him and said, like, would you like to, or you plan on retiring? He said, as of now, no. But the way it was misinterpreted is he was just I think in his head, or maybe on the next sentence or something, he might have said, like, at the end of my term, maybe I'll consider it, or whatever. That was the insinuation that his approach. But he was just thinking, right now, there's no law in effect saying I've got to leave this seat. When the law goes into effect, then, he would do whatever he needs to do. But it wasn't expressed that way in the newspaper. He just said, as of now, no, or, he wasn't leaving that seat. But here's the thing. I want to be fair to Mr. Armstrong. I'm going to reach out to him and allow him to get on video, answer some questions, ask me questions, hold me accountable. I'm totally happy with all that stuff. Or if he's not open to do that, I'm going to get the email that he sent me with his permission and read it and address the points that he said, because my goal is to be fair. All right, guys. Ridiculous video. I think that's kind of silly that I'm doing this, but you got to understand I'm out of my comfort zone even saying anything negative about anybody, but you guys, you have to understand where I'm coming from on this. I've helped a lot of people protest. There are a lot of people affected by the rising property tax bill, and when they see their value go up, they see that has strong correlation to them having to pay more, and so they are interested in everything that the appraisal district is doing, and there are systems of checks and balances in place to make sure that organization is run well. But with the election the way it is, things going on and nobody knowing that the election exists, those checks and balances aren't being utilized. Everybody, people at the appraisal district are probably in a panic right now because nobody even has known that the election's going on until now. And now people are taking an interest. It's different. Well, people should have been taking an interest all along. And this should be a normal thing that happens. And the best candidate should win. And the candidates that are taking an interest in serving and are passionate about doing the right thing and helping make your jobs better and the interests of the taxing entities and the interests of the public in serving and running a good organization, that's what we all want involved. We all want people that are there, want to do the right thing, and that care and are willing to get off of their rump to go do something and take the initiative to improve. And what would constitute an improvement is not left up to the decision of one person. And that's where you should take comfort. Nothing's going to change at the appraisal district unless it passes the board, and there's going to be 5 people on the board. And at least 3 of those are going to be incumbents, because that's the way it's got to be, because of how many people are running and the vote totals and that sort of thing. But that's the way it's intended to run. That's the way it should run. And if anybody has any questions for me, you just contact me. I'm easy. I'm here. I'm here to serve, and you're going to see a lot of me because I'm still protesting for a lot of people. But you have to understand where my heart is. Look, I started to say this. Guys, I am in contact with a lot of people that have a daily struggle of trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And whenever they get a surprise once a year telling them that their values have gone up, and they know that that's going to have a direct relation into how much they're going to pay in property taxes, and it's literally a daily struggle, or they're having to sell their house, or they're having to make significant sacrifices to pay their bills, and this is one of their biggest bills. It's something that when you see the anguish and when you hear people crying and you hear people suffering, you have to be empathetic to that. And I can't ignore it. And I'm the guy that's in the know that doesn't profit from this whole thing directly, at least. I don't have a job to lose. I don't get paid for the work that I do. I'm here. I'm the guy has the ability to say something and understand what's going on. And so I feel like if I'm going to serve my local community, that this is one way that I'm equipped to do it. And so that's what I'm doing. And that's where it all comes from. And I hope that we have more of an active service kind of culture that's happening. In fact, I can tell you this from the people that I have daily interaction with at the appraisal district, the culture of having a heart of a servant attitude towards helping people has just been overwhelming. And that's the reason why I've been able to do what I've done. And that's the reason why I continually come back and say how much I like the people at the appraisal district, because you guys are amazing. Nobody thanks you. And somebody needs to thank you. So I'm trying to do that too. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot. Have a great one. Bye.